Let's do this one more time. Shaka, come back in. Instagram shut me down. Instagram shut me down. Shaka, come back in. This is the second time tonight. Shaka, come back in. No, Instagram, they cut it off just like they did before about 15 minutes ago. Everybody bring Shaka back in. Come on, brother. This is Instagram's second time shutting me down tonight. So let us not get it twisted. No, Brother Rizza did not run. Brother Rizza did not run when he started playing Minister Farrakhan's words. I want him to play Minister Farrakhan's words. I want you to pull out everything that you think is evidence. Please, because you're going to learn and be corrected. I'm going to support and back up every word of the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, and you will witness exactly how things need to be done. So Shaka, please come back in, brother, because I want you to finish that video clip of Minister Farrakhan. Someone tell him to come back in. I don't see him here, but please tell him to come back in because he needs to be corrected. And after this, I pray everyone learns exactly how you are supposed to operate as it pertains to respecting other groups, other organizations, other people. Have respect for one another. Have respect. You don't have to agree. We don't have to agree, but we should respect. Okay, good. Here he is. Says it's bringing him in right now. Okay. Rewind that. Yeah, Instagram, this is their second time shutting me down tonight. That was their second time shutting me down tonight. Go back to the clip and play it because unlike other people, I do apologize if you thought I was running from that. Play it again. I know every clip, by the way, of Minister Farrakhan and his words about Brother Malcolm, but go ahead and play it because I want everyone to listen to what it is that you are doing. So play it, and then I'm going to go ahead and correct you.
God has made me a better man for you than Malcolm X. I'm standing where Malcolm would have stood if he had the character to stand where I'm standing. And frankly, it ain't none of your business. What have you got to say about it? Did you teach Malcolm? Did you make Malcolm? Did you clean up Malcolm? Did you put Malcolm out before the world? Was Malcolm your traitor or was he out? And if we dealt with him like a nation deals with a traitor, what the hell business is it of yours?
Everybody listen. Keep listening. Don't be emotional, family. Listen, listen.
Okay, so there's a few clips. There's a few clips, but that's one of them. So I'm waiting to hear what you have to say.
Absolutely. Number one, brother, I am a member of the Nation of Islam. Let's make this very clear. When you're making these clips, playing them, pardon me, because you didn't make that one. But when you're playing these clips, for those who watch your channel, they don't know how the Nation of Islam works, but I'll just make it very clear and very easy for them to understand. Number one, nothing he stated in there was a lie, even according to Brother Malcolm's mouth and words himself. Brother Malcolm told the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, and I quote, "Brother, you are a better man than I am myself." End quote. He spoke to and taught and mentored the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. Brother Malcolm mentored once again and spoke to and taught the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. Brother Malcolm X, Al-Hajj Malik El-Shabazz, is and was a student of the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad. There would be no Malcolm X if there were no Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad. Everything that Malcolm X has talked about, everything that he spoke on, he was taught by the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad. Next point, when you heard Minister Farrakhan say, "God has made me a better man than Malcolm," was he lying? Well, let us look at it today. As of right now, Minister Farrakhan, the only man to call for 1 million men or 1 million people to come to Washington, D.C. 1995, over 2 million showed up. A couple years later again, he called for $1 million. Over $1 million showed up. A couple years later again, he called for $1 million. Over $1 million showed up. 15.
What did that achieve?
1 second. Brother, I'm glad we're talking right now. Number one, 1995, hundreds of babies were adopted. Number again, 1995, many. I don't have the exact number because there's so many different things, but you can go on NOI.org and you can check out the number of enrollments. No. Of course, but right now we're talking about the Nation of Islam. See, another thing I'm not going to deal with. I don't do deflection. I deal actual facts. You asked me a question. What did the Million Man March achieve? 4 different times. By the way, 10, 10, 15 that I wear on my wrist, justice or else. That I was at personally in person. 2015, over 1 million people again. What did that achieve? Tons of organizations that I personally work with came together and united. Native American tribes came together and united, ended over 100-year wars, and helped to provide jobs for us black folks over here. Number 3, Bloods and Crip gangs in Los Angeles ended wars that I was a part of orchestrating, brought tons of jobs called the United Hood Nations on 83rd and Vermont at the community center. We helped to bring hundreds of jobs to brothers and sisters who are felons who couldn't get a job. We helped to get food and clothing to thousands of brothers and sisters who could not get it, etc., etc., etc. This is the problem, brother, and I'm going to keep going with people who watch things on social media, YouTube, etc., but you're not there. I, Brother Rizza Islam, am from Compton, California. A lot of these works that I'm talking about happen in Los Angeles, Compton, New York, Atlanta, etc. And I have been part of all of them.
I wasn't questioning that it didn't achieve anything. I was genuinely asking because I wasn't there.
Oh, good. Well, I'm glad you're being genuine because most people who ask that question are not. So thank you for being genuine.
My
because
ego is not that big. I'm more interested in truth than I am in.
Well, if your ego is not that big, brother, and let me make sure you are being a man of your word. If your ego were not that big, you would not make the huge mistake of perpetuating the same lies that the same white man who you speak against has made. When you said that Minister Farrakhan was a part of the effery, F word, when it pertains to Malcolm X being murdered, and you said Brother Malcolm, who was a
Minister Farrakhan, I said Elijah Muhammad, and what I was referring to was the secretaries that he was having babies with.
1 second. The Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad made them wives. He was married to those women. They spoke on YouTube. You can go and look up the video where they spoke themselves. Fact. You have to make sure you know the facts before you are speaking. Number 2.
Were they married when he got them pregnant?
Yes. 100%.
And how old were they?
3 different ages, I believe 19. Let me not speak on the other 2. I won't speak on the other 2 because I don't know exactly what age when they actually consummated and had a child. I don't know the exact 2 ages, but you can go watch their statements yourself on YouTube. YouTube, Elijah Muhammad's wives speak. Just do that. Okay. Once again, don't listen to Brother Rizza Islam. Listen to the wives. Next point, the statement you made, the comment that you made under my video, where there were 3 different clips proving, along with a list of facts that I listed, dealing with Malcolm X not being assassinated by the Nation of Islam, you stated a few things, but the main thing I looked at was how you said Brother Malcolm, who was a greater man than Lewis and Elijah. Brother, number 1.
I said for African people, globally, that's what I said.
But brother, you're wrong. You're actually factually.
Have you been to Africa? Has Elijah and has Louis Farrakhan, and what has been done in Africa by those people?
Number 1, the most honorable Elijah Muhammad, yes, has been. Number 2, the honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, yes, has been multiple times. The honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan was deputized as a general over 45 Islamic nations under Colonel Muammar Gaddafi of Libya. I'm sure you've heard of him, one of the African leaders. Brother Minister Farrakhan has been dubbed multiple titles over multiple nations. Watch the recent Savior's Day address towards the very end, where he shows the different titles that he was given from different Muslim leaders, where he was given certain staffs, certain jackets, certain swords of authority of one of the sheikhs over in Nigeria, one of the head sheikhs, the Buddha sheikh, or the sheikh of sheikhs. He was given his staff of authority. Wait, brother, wait a minute. I'm educating because you don't know. Minister Farrakhan.
I'm not interested in titles. Like, I'm interested in what
No, no, no.
somebody
I hear you. No, no, no. And I'm educated.
You can go to Africa now, and there'll be a whole heap of men come out and give you titles and, yeah, this guy.
Of course.
I want to
Of course. But
groundwork. I don't care about titles and men celebrating.
No, no, no. If you were interested in groundwork, you let the brother in the nation whom you disrespected to educate you about the work that we're doing. We have Nation of Islam locations in Jamaica. We have Nation of Islam location in Ghana. We have one in Nigeria. We have them in the UK. We have them in Haiti.
I know,
all over.
I've been to the one in the UK. I've spoken at the Nation of Islam in the UK. I know.
Oh, good, good, good. So if you know, then you would know how to address. Once again, you're proving right now, brother, that you directly disrespected and you intentionally disrespected just by the way you commented under my post. I do apologize, brother. So I hear you. But at the same time, even if it were someone who you follow or a nation that you belong to, etc., whatever it is that you're a part of, I would be respectful in at least speaking, because the thing that you said reflected on the fact that you don't know the actual facts because the FBI files have not been released yet. So how can you anything dealing with Minister Farrakhan?
My opinion of Malcolm being a greater man than Minister Farrakhan or Elijah Muhammad, my opinion, which I'm entitled to.
Your opinion. Okay, thank you. Thank you. Everyone heard, so that's your opinion. I appreciate that, brother. I definitely appreciate that. And when you said a part of the effery, okay, the fuckery, all right, as far as Brother Malcolm being assassinated, etc. When you made that statement, what proof do you have that Minister Farrakhan and the Nation of Islam was a part of it? What actual solid proof do you have?
I don't have any solid proof or any solid evidence, but the rhetoric was that everybody at the time were against Malcolm X. They weren't coming out to protect him. They were the ones who were basically saying, no, 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 it's okay for anybody to do whatever they want to him, or we'll do it to him. So that's why it seems like they were a party to him. They didn't come out and defend him.
I can clear that up.
Protect him.
I can clear that up.
Yeah.
No, I can clear that up for you. In the Nation of Islam, when you are silenced or you are sat down for 90 days, right? That's one of our rules in the nation. You know, every organization has its own rules. You know, you're on probation for a week if you do this. You're on probation, but you know, you go to school, you'll be on academic probation for. Right? No.
I was in the army as well, but I was in the British Army, and I disobeyed the rules there, and then they tried to do certain things, but I was like, whatever, because
yeah. And I don't know how they operate in the British Army, but in the Nation of Islam, for instance, one of the simple policies is 90 days. You know, if you do certain things that are disobeying or go against the rules, right, of our military. Everybody has military, but he did that. He commented on the assassination of John F. Kennedy, which every member, not just Malcolm, every minister was told not to comment on the assassination of John F. Kennedy. Why? Because Americans love John F. Kennedy. That's what they said. Very simple. The messenger, the most honorable Elijah Muhammad, was very wise, and he told all the members, do not comment on that. Don't do that. Brother Malcolm stepped out of ranks when he said this. He said, well, I think it's a simple case of the chickens coming home to roost. That was not okay. He disobeyed the authority. Everybody was told. It wasn't just Malcolm.
Did he leave the nation after that?
No. He, after a certain point, he was sat down multiple times, just so you know. He was told not to speak at this point, not to speak at this point. It was multiple times, okay, until he left. Until he left. It led up to that. Until he left. And it wasn't that, oh, he woke up and he found out that there are white Muslims in Mecca and he could go and pray with white Muslims and, oh, I guess they're not devils because, oh, the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad lied to me. No, the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad was teaching white Muslims around his table all the time. He was teaching white people constantly for years. So that was not true. Number two, he did not go to Mecca in Arabia before the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad. That also is not true. And three, he said, well, I guess, you know, he told me no devils can go to Mecca. No, because devil or that name is a bad name after faith. If you are embracing the tenets of Islam, you embrace those core principles of Islam. This is what we teach, by the way. Then you can't call that person a devil if they are operating out of those righteous principles. Very simple. So that was a big lie. He got poisoned in Egypt. Malcolm did. And he said they are not members of the Nation of Islam. The people who poisoned me were not in the Nation of Islam. And the last point to just clear all this up, at the very end, he wasn't being protected. Why? Because he was not in the nation at the time. So that is what happened. But under his not being protected, right, from the enemy, the same white supremacist enemy from the CIA, FBI, who had been watching him for years, but had been watching the most honorable Elijah Muhammad for 25 years. This is on YouTube. You can hear it as well. He, Brother Malcolm, wasn't being protected, but the most honorable Elijah Muhammad told every member of the Nation of Islam, do not touch Malcolm. Leave Malcolm alone. The most honorable Elijah Muhammad said that to all of the members, leave him alone. And in the Audubon Ballroom, when he was assassinated, the Audubon Ballroom, under Malcolm's call, under Malcolm's words, he said to not secure the door. And at that time, everyone knows, even he knew, that security, you must have someone checking the doorpost. You must have someone checking the people coming in and going out. You must make sure no weapons are coming in, because the climate at that time was very high. So I'm not exonerating every member of the Nation of Islam. Everybody has envy and jealousy. I got people envious and jealous of me right now, probably in the nation, and definitely people outside of the nation who are envious and jealous of me. However, who did the murdering? Who did the killing? That is where we need to really look at it.
I know who did it.
And stop.
I'm not saying the nation did it. I'm saying that it appears for somebody outside of the nation that they were a party to it because of all of the rhetoric afterwards. Is that everybody was proud that he was dead?
No. Everybody was not proud that he was dead. Mind you, you nor I were alive back then. So let's make that very clear, right? So there are even things that I don't know still. There are things you don't know and things that I don't know still because we weren't alive at the time. However, what is known is when Brother Malcolm was murdered, assassinated, killed, Eugene Roberts was an agent. Eugene Roberts, by the way, you can look at Gene Roberts, Gene Roberts interview dealing with the murder of Malcolm X. He confesses the truth, talks about how he worked for the United States government, talks about how he was an agent, talks about all of this. That's on there as well on YouTube. You got to watch that because
I already watched that.
Oh, you watched? Oh, good, very good.
I was
so
just in Ghana with his youngest daughter Malak, and I've been and spoken to Atala before as well, and I just feel like the way that Malcolm was moving was he had a global think mentality. After, you know, he was Detroit Red, and then he was in the Nation, and then what he was starting at the end of his life was something that needs to continue. And it feels like to me that isn't continuing in any significant way for global unity, African unity. I, for one, am one to say that, you know, I respect people's religions, but I'm not interested in the religion before I'm interested in the people. Because there's many people who, you know, you wouldn't call religious in Congo, for instance, who are getting murdered so that we can have iPhones, right? And that's something that a lot of people not only are not speaking about, but they're not also putting their own bodies, their own times and resources to stop these things from happening. And it seems like you can be the man at the top of the mountain, right? Meditating and be spiritually awakened. You can be the group of people who are all looking out for each other as a small secular group. But what are we doing globally that transcends religion, that transcends class, that transcends gender for each other? And that's what I believe that Malcolm was doing when he was organizing the organization of Afro-American Unity after the organization of the African Union, African Unity, which, you know, order of the African became the African Union, which is just basically a subsidiary division of the UN, right? Which doesn't do anything for our people right now. And so there is nothing for me that is significant in the USA that is doing for us globally. Like, for instance, Ghana. I'm in Ghana regularly, right? Ghana doesn't know who they're going to go and speak to if they want to speak to all of the diaspora in North America. They might come and sit in the nation. They might go and speak to, you know, the gods and the earths. They might go and speak to NACCP, but there's no one organization. And I think that this is where we are divided, because when white people deal with us politically, they all deal with us the same. So when Ghana is speaking to white people, they're speaking to the continent of Europe. They're speaking to the continent of North America. They're not just speaking to Texas, right? They're not just speaking to Arkansas. All of those 50 whatever states are all dealing with Ghana. So they have all of this white inferiority dealing with them, right? And they all deal with, you know, individual Ghana, Gambia, South Africa. So when we African people globally, Jamaica, go and deal with the continent of North America, we are stuck because we are not dealing with these people as a united continent of Africans, a billion people, a united diaspora, South America, Central America, the Caribbean, and North America. We're dealing with them as Brooklyn or as New York. We're dealing with them as Panama or even Brazil. And I feel like that is why, for me, Malcolm was significant and very great, because his thinking, he said that ideas are bulletproof. His thinking has inspired many, many, many people to go forward and try and create this. But right now, it's something that we don't have. And it's a problem when we're trying to talk about transferring to and from Africa, because African leaders in African countries don't know who they're going to speak to when they speak to people in the diaspora. Because they can't just speak to me, because I'm one person. They can't just speak to the nation, because that only represents a particular section of people. It doesn't represent everybody, even though you work with everybody. And so this is what I'm trying to get to. I'm not trying to, like, what I said maybe was emotionally charged, because I do feel like many black people in North America failed Malcolm X. And what he was doing was way ahead of his time. And if you watch what he was saying then, it's still relevant right now, right? And so that for me is, I'm not party and parcel to, you know, particular being the Messiah. I do believe that I do believe that Martin Luther King, I do believe that people from the MOVE organization, I do believe that the Black Panthers, there was too much of this bravado, and there was what Marcus Garvey, there was one person to go after, right? Or there was 10 people to go after, right? You can't go after the United States of America, because it's the United States. And when I'm trying to figure out when we're going to get the United States of black people, the United States of the African diaspora. And so that's something that I'm working on right now, because I believe that that is more important going forward in terms of economics, education, having political power. Like, we're still asking for justice from people whose whole system has been created on injustice, people whose whole economic prosperity has been created on the enslaving of my ancestors and the enslaving of your ancestors and the killing of the indigenous people in North America with the smallpox, so on and so forth and so on and so forth. A lot of people don't know about being a citizen is being a member of the Civitas, which is a corporate body of the Corporation of the United States. So when they're killing people in the USA, they're terminating property. You know, they don't realize that that's what's really going on. Our birth certificates are stocks floated on the stock market. Fiat currency is printed out at birth. So it's an organized debt thing. How are we going to liberate ourselves from this system? Because COINTELPRO was deliberately set up to stop the rise of a black nation, the rise of a black messiah, and stop us speaking in North America, the Caribbean, South America, to people in Africa. So that's my question to you. Where do we go from here?
Absolutely beautiful. And thank you very much for all of that, because the main thing you're looking at is a global, and that Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad was not global, and that Brother Malcolm was global, and that the Honorable Minister Farrakhan, the Nation of Islam, is not global. We're not doing a global connecting of the diaspora of Africa to North America, to all of our brothers and sisters across the Caribbean, et cetera, et cetera. And I heard everything you said.
Like, you're military, you have lots of bases, but it's like, whether you're in whether you're in it. So I feel like that's something you can leverage to actually.
Absolutely. So to your point, we are global. That's the first thing. We are invested in and involved in trade and commerce, business-wise. We are invested in For instance, one small example, because of course we can't say everything over the enemy's network. Of course, I think you understand what I'm saying. But one small example is we import fish from outside of the country from one of our brother countries. That's one small example. We also import coffee beans from Ethiopia. We have our own farms here, so we are independent as far as agriculture goes. We have multiple farms in America. We are connected to multiple African nations doing business, doing educational exchange, doing once again, trade and commerce of goods and services, and have set up many different things from scholarships to housing, etc., etc. And we are doing a whole lot more. The only difference is it's not being seen on social media like everything else. And why is that? Because if this enemy wants to destroy you, what will they do? They're going to look to see what it is that you're doing. And we can't put every single thing on social media. We can't put every single thing and publicize it because, as you know, COINTELPRO, as you so eloquently spoke of it, is to prevent the rise of a black messiah who can unify and electrify the people. So therefore, I'm not going to broadcast in front of my enemy my next move. I'm not going to broadcast in front of my enemy all of the different business agreements that I have with Haiti or Jamaica or Nigeria or Nairobi, Kenya, or Ghana. I'm not going to negotiate and put all that up on Front Street. Why? Because I'm telling my enemy where to go to destroy me and to destroy everything that I am building. You build in quiet and you explode in success. That is how a nation has to operate now, because you have something called COINTELPRO. You have infiltration. You have agents, agent provocateurs. You have those, and they still exist to this very day. We are not free. We are not free, not entirely, but we are slowly but surely coming out of it. We do have sovereign territory. I heard you mention dealing with that, about people who don't know about the birth certificate, etc., which we know very well about. And the Nation of Islam has been doing a lot of different things as far as liberating people from that as well. We've been doing this for a very long time, but your initial point goes back to the most honorable Elijah Muhammad not being global, and that brother Malcolm X all of a sudden somehow became global. Malcolm X learned all that he learned from the most honorable Elijah Muhammad, and then went on self-study as well. But the most honorable Elijah Muhammad had deals and business deals with the Japanese. He had business deals and connections with multiple African countries. He had business deals with Peru, which is where the Muhammad fish importation was coming from. We had boats, fishing boats, where we were fishing and bringing in loads and tons of fish from outside of the country. This was going on under the most honorable Elijah Muhammad, to where the Nation of Islam had created and amassed an over $80 million economy. We had cleaners, we had transportation systems, we had one major hospital with 500 beds that we were working on. We had an airport, independent schools, which we still have to this day. We had independent virtually everything. And what happened? The government came in and destroyed it all. So because you're not seeing it doesn't mean it is not taking place. That is the number one most ignorant thing that people do, is they look at what's simply being seen. And that's the problem, because if you are only going off of, well, I don't see it, well, that's your problem, because you're not here. Like, from my understanding, you're not even in America currently. Yes?
No, right now I'm in Thailand.
Right. So you're not in America. I am. You don't know where I am right now. I don't know where you are right now. Just because I don't know exactly where you are and where you don't know where I am doesn't mean I'm not here, and it doesn't mean you're not there. It simply means we don't see it, but it doesn't mean it's not occurring. So the most honorable Elijah Muhammad had all of those international global deals occurring. And today, the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan has far more than the most honorable Elijah Muhammad did at that time. He elevated it. And I'll give you everybody something to watch. The Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan's World Friendship Tour on YouTube, where he was accepted, welcomed by multiple countries, multiple African nations, multiple nations embraced and accepted all across the world, and established international connections thoroughly for business, thoroughly for education, thoroughly for everything. This is for everyone to understand. Just because you're not seeing it doesn't mean it doesn't exist. But just be very careful that when people are commenting on things, just be careful that you have to have the actual facts. So a lot of things have occurred. We have made a lot of progress. But once again, you're dealing with between 45 to 50 million people in America under the system of white supremacy who strategically does not want us to succeed. So they're doing a lot to push us from success, but we are still making it through regardless. So all of that you said, brother, I appreciate, but it just demonstrated that there were just things that you didn't know. That's how I'm taking it. That's just certain things you.
I'm aware that there must be trade deals. There must be things going on. But what I'm saying is, if for instance, Ghana wants to do something with the diaspora, we are not a united diaspora to do something with. We are a section. And what I'm saying,
you're referring to we're not a United States of Africa yet, is what you're saying.
United States of Africa and United Diaspora. There's a billion people outside of Africa, right?
Absolutely. That was
in complexion and darker than me and you, and it's very difficult for us to be able to make power moves when we are out organized still to this very day. And it's very good that the Nation of Islam is doing what they're doing in terms of what you've told me. But what I'm saying is there's still many people in Ghana who just don't know, because maybe you guys need to do more traveling and more speaking to people there so they know that, oh, okay, cool, we can work together. But I'm in Ghana a lot of the time, and they're like, who do we even talk to in America? And I'm like, you can talk to the nation, you can talk to these people, you can talk to these people, you can talk to these people. There's that. No, but we are trying to talk as Ghana. And why are we trying to talk to Brooklyn? Do you know what I mean?
Absolutely. No. I know what you mean, but that's not what we're doing. I get you, but I literally have international connections. We have international connections. We talk internationally on a regular. We get things done on a regular. So I hear what you're saying as far as what it was. But coming from a brother here in the hills of the wilderness of North America, I'm letting you know we have been getting a lot done. But yes, there is still more to be done, of course. That's why we're still doing it. The work is still going on, man. This is a difficult thing to do. But the last time we almost had that United Nations of Africa, where it's going to connect the world and the entire diaspora, was under Colonel Muammar Gaddafi. He had over 50 heads of the nations ready to go. He had 3 banks that he was ready to launch. He was going to launch a satellite. He had it ready to go. And guess who he brought to be one of his deputy generals? The Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, because he is one who he entrusted, and he told him that I and we will back the nation with all of the wealth of Libya. Why? Because you are the most organized and you will get it done. That's what Colonel Muammar Gaddafi said to the Honorable Minister Farrakhan. But what happened? He was assassinated by the U.S. government through the CIA. Why? Because he wanted to form the United Nations of Africa to unite the entire diaspora across the planet of our people, which I agree, that's exactly what needs to happen. However, it's not just as simple as saying, well, hell, the nation, you guys haven't done it all yet. No, we haven't. There's a lot more work to do. There's a lot more work to do. So we have to definitely, get the work done. But that's the point. We're doing it. We're doing it. It's a lot of work, man. But
I feel like we need to speak off here.
Oh, sure. We can. I have no problem doing that. Okay.